Welcome, I'm Rabbi Phil Bressler of Beit Am in Corvallis, Oregon, and this is the daily summary video for the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi Daily Halakha Learning Project, covering the passage from Siman 89 Seif 4 to Siman 90 Seif 4. You can find links to the Hebrew and English text of this passage and to the calendar of upcoming passages in this video's description. Still talking about things that are bases for muktzeh, prohibited objects on Shabbat. Remember, a base only gets created when something is there at twilight. It doesn't get created if you put it there afterward. And moreover, your intent in putting something on top of something else matters. So a base is created when you put something down on top of something else on purpose in order to leave it there throughout Shabbat. If it's just incidental, it just happens to be placed there, or you forgot that it's there, or it fell there, you haven't created a base. Also, a thing becomes a base only if it belongs to you. You can't make someone else's thing forbidden without their consent and involvement. In our next Siman, we're going to talk more about non-milacha activities that are still prohibited on Shabbat, as well as milacha that gets done through a non-Jew. So we're now going further beyond muktzeh into other specific acts that are prohibited on Shabbat, because even though they are not milacha themselves, and even though they are not even all that similar to milacha, they're not Shabbat-like enough. They're not restful or dignified, things like this. These are derived from a verse in Isaiah, actually two verses, Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13 and 14, which read in English translation, "If you refrain from trampling the Sabbath, from pursuing your affairs on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight, the Lord's holy day honored, and if you honor it and go not about your ways, nor look to your affairs, nor strike your bargains." And then a little bit later it says, "Then you can seek the favor of the Lord. I will set you astride the heights of the earth and let you enjoy the heritage of your father Jacob." So this is taken to mean basically there's more that you can do beyond just holding to specific Shabbat restrictions that will truly make your Shabbat something that God looks favorably upon. Now the sages in the Talmud broke down these verses to indicate specific ways that Shabbat can be done with, I guess, a little bit of extra oomph, a little bit of extra flair. If you honor it and go not your ways, this is interpreted to mean that one should walk in a different way on Shabbat. Specifically, no running on Shabbat, except running to do a mitzvah. I gotta say, part of my experience of Shabbat, especially at summer camps and staying with friends and people where there is a strict Shabbat regulation in place, going and playing sports was actually a big part of what we would do. So I think the idea is to, not stress, not run to do something frivolous, but I think running for the sake of sports would be, I think in most frameworks acceptable. Nor look to your affairs. That bit is taken to indicate that sometimes your affairs shouldn't be done even if no malacha is required. So some examples are taking stock of your belongings to plan for what you might need tomorrow, Sunday, taking a stroll around town to look for stuff you might want to buy later, like houses or other things. Another thing is walking all the way to the end of the Tehum, the Shabbat boundary, the maximum distance you're permitted to walk in one direction on Shabbat. Walking all the way to the end and then waiting there until Shabbat ends so that you can get a head start on your next day's journey, whatever post-Shabbat errand you want to make. Those are all things that are not especially dignified to do on Shabbat and count as pursuing your affairs, even though they are not themselves forbidden. The bit that says, "nor strike bargains," the Hebrew there is actually daber davar, which literally translates to something like, "don't speak any word, don't speak anything at all." This is taken to mean that your speech should be different on Shabbat from how it is during the week. Some examples include, don't talk about what sort of Shabbat prohibited things you're planning to do after Shabbat. Don't do too much idle chit-chat on Shabbat. Don't talk about painful or sad subjects on Shabbat. And don't make business calculations on Shabbat, whether it's calculating past transactions or calculating future ones. Those are all things that are it's not exactly prohibited, but just not Shabbat appropriate. That's all for today. As always, our learning is dedicated to Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, the author of the Kitzur, and the historic Jewish community of Uzhhorod, Ukraine. We'll see you tomorrow.